Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show. I'm Nighthawk, your host. Um, I think Eric is not going to be able to make it today because of violent weather in his area. He's probably without power. So I don't know if anybody in the chat can let me know if they've talked to him or not this morning. But I'm a little concerned because usually he's here already. I'm going to go through the disclaimer and we're going to get into the thick of things here in just a couple moments, okay? Copyright disclaimer is this channel, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel, may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner. It contends that it falls under the Fair Use Act, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel declare fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, including the music, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and general knowledge only. And let's not forget the entertainment value. Per Title 17, Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise herein known as the Fair Use Act. All right, now that that's out of the way, let me pop something up here. We are going to talk about a subject today. I'll get to the comments here in a second here, okay? Give me 1 second. All right. Good morning, Don. Good to see you. Kyle, good to see you. Cynthia, great to see you. Roxanne, good to see you. Okay, thank you, Roxanne. Thank you very much. I'm just a little worried because usually he's here by now. I know he had a late night because I saw him post something about 2:15 in the morning. So either he's a heavy sleeper, and we all know he needs to get his sleep, especially his beauty sleep, his fluffy sleep. But I'm just kind of concerned because there was a lot of violent storms apparently through the middle section of the U.S. yesterday. So, but thank you, Roxanne, for checking on that. Okay. Let's. Oh, okay. He lives about 2 hours from you. Okay. Alrighty. Well, today, I was going to get into a continuation of yesterday, but I started thinking about things last night, and all the violent storms that we're having lately, and just the weird climate stuff going on is almost like somebody's controlling it. Good morning, Ray. Good to see you, bro. Um, you know, couple that with a lot of the weird stuff that's going on. It's almost like somebody's controlling it, and I think we know exactly who is controlling it. We can put part of it on the paranormal spectrum of it as being, extra paranormal in the air and extra sightings of cryptids and all that. Can be related to like dark magic being performed across the country. It could be, and the weather could be actually related. Good morning, Juno. Good to see you. It could actually be related to satanic cults. I've been seeing in a lot of visions lately that I've been having that there is a lot going on with the satanic aspect of the occult, doing ceremonies and stuff, especially on the West Coast and on the East Coast in the New England area. I just, I sometimes I see things, okay, that it almost doesn't make sense, but I piece it together over time. And good morning, David. Um, so it's like, I wouldn't be having visions and all this, and Juno, you know what I mean. If I wasn't meant to, okay, and it's just one thing after another. Good morning, Starflower. Um, but to make it even more complicated, our own government. Um, and I hate to say this about our government because at one time, I fought for this country, as David did, and several others in the chat. Um, so I've got an utmost patriotic look at the country. Okay. Um, but when it comes to the government being truthful to all the citizens of the United States, they are not truthful one iota, not even 1%. They deceive the public, just like the sideshow carnivals of a circus. Okay, and pretty much the way our country is right now, it should be labeled a circus because it's a joke with what's going on. But you have facilities like HARP that are messing with the atmosphere and causing aurora borealis to be seen all the way down into Florida and other parts of the country south. You know, it never ceases to amaze me that our government would cover something up like manipulation of the weather, especially when its own citizens are being harmed by it and or unalived by it. Um, you know, there's that's just one of the subjects I wanted to ask everybody about this morning and see what they think about it. Um, Another one is I just found out this morning through my information search before I come on that within the last, I think, 2 months, yeah, it said 2 months, yeah, 2.5 months, that Nevada, the state of Nevada, has had 40 missing children reports. 40. That's 20 a month. You know, that's 20 a month too many. Um, I you see these posters all the time about the missing, 411 and all that, and the correlation to the water and to the granite boulder fields, or in remote locations. Um, I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and I'm going to be probably trying to do a special on that. I'm going to try to get a very dear friend to come on with me, and we'll go over the whole situation with the missing 411. But you have to figure someone out there or something out there is taking the children. Okay, and we can probably label about 2% of it on cryptid activities out in the middle of nowhere. If you're walking by yourself or if a child wanders off. Um, but it seems to me like these are more opportunist type of abductions. Okay. And what I mean by opportunist type of abductions is it doesn't really pan out to be cryptid activity, because although cryptids, Bigfoot and Dogman and all that could be curious enough to abduct a child or even an adult, um, but why? There's only one reason that any cryptid would abduct a child, and I'm talking 3 or 4 year old child. And that is because they lost a child of their own. Okay. And they are trying to fill that gap. Okay. And everybody says, oh, well, I wouldn't say everybody, but most people think that Bigfoot is just a dumb, you know, dumb hillbilly creature, lives out in the middle of nowhere and does what he wants, can't even make clothes for himself, his hairy ass showing out and everything. But it's not like that. These cryptids that we talk about, I've said it before, in a lot of ceremonies that the native people do, especially the holy men. We are asked by individuals within our tribal affiliations to do ceremonies to protect sacred lands at all cost. Okay. And those sacred lands just happen to be on the majority of all the federal park systems lands. Okay. So when we do ceremonies to protect the land and our people's right to be upon that land, we're calling forth spirit. Okay. We're calling forth a manifestation of a protective deity. Okay. We are not doing it in a harmful way, but these deities that we call upon in ceremony will do whatever they can to keep the land, the sacred land, um, untouched by human hands. Okay. Now, does that mean that if a Native American wanders in there, by himself, that they're going to be able to be fine because they're Native American by blood and it's their blood right? That's kind of a 50-50 double-edged sword there. Okay? Because when these ceremonies are done and these protection requests of these deities are done, these entities are done, what comes with that is even the ones that are calling upon these deities could be caught up in it if they're neglectful enough to wander upon that land by themselves. You see what I'm saying? So it's not all precise. Okay, when we call forth these deities, these spirits, they can manifest in the form of Bigfoot, they can manifest in the form of Dog Man. Okay, they can manifest in the form of Goat Man, Lizard Man. They can take any form they want. They can manifest themselves as a gargoyle, as anything, you know. Um, even because they are requested, and that power comes from the land. Okay, to bring forth that manifestation. The words that are said, the songs that are sung, and the intent of the manifestation efforts of the individual doing the ceremony is what produces what comes out of the ceremony to protect the sacred lands. Okay. So that being said, a lot of these 411 missing um, people, 2% to 3% of it could be due to the manifestation of cryptids protecting certain areas. Okay. That's why a lot of these happen to be done on national park land. Okay. Which kind of makes that dot connect. And Juno says people are waking up to slow. Wait a minute, I can't see that. God, my eyes got to adjust. Sorry, I'm sitting here almost in the dark. People are waking up to slow. By the time they realize the truth, it will be too late. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Sorry, my eyes aren't what they used to be when it comes to reading the small print. So, Woo Rider, good to see you. Why are you always number 9 or 13? Well, let's see. 9 is a very good number, actually. Well, actually, it could be a very bad number too, because it's 3 plus 3 plus 3. So it depends on how you look at it. 13 is not a bad number. 13 is just a number that's been misused over time. So, and you know what made Friday the 13th such a bad omen or a bad type of a thing to happen on the calendar whenever we fall on a Friday the 13th? It's because that the Knights Templar were actually tortured to death on Friday the 13th. So, but anyways, getting back to that subject of the missing 411, there is, oh man, Ray, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm actually getting to that way, I'm getting to where I can just I have these bouts with the illness that I have, that are increasingly getting worse. But I have these bouts where I'll lose my vision for like an hour or two, completely lose my vision. I'll be like somebody blind. And that's because the mass that's on the brainstem is growing gradually, and it's wrapped around the nervous system of my neck, which controls my vision, which controls my breathing, which controls my heart pumping blood, all that, and my mobility and all that. And what it does is, as it grows, it slowly pinches things off. Okay. And I wonder, I always wondered why did I survive all the massive radiation and all the chemotherapies and all the operations that I had, with the first two cancers. Um, and I almost feel like it's because I'm meant to get the word out before I'm ready to go. And I think that the creator made it so that I won't suddenly just drop off and die like people with that have an aneurysm. Okay. I think it's more going to be a slow thing, a slow process to where I'll lose my vision completely. I'll lose my mobility in my legs, which that happens too. And I have restricted breathing problems. So, but that's all. It's all under the bridge for me, because yeah, hyperbolic chambers would definitely be nice, but you won't find any medical coverage out there that will even cover part of that. I'm finding out that even with and I have some military help and other stuff, but the majority of mine is through Medicare, and I'm finding out that because of the disability factor, that they're not even paying for prescriptions, medications, or medical services in certain areas, and a lot of that they're not paying for is the lab work and the specialty, minor surgeries and stuff like endoscopies and all that, MRIs and CT scans. I used to have all that covered, up till about the beginning of the year, and I found out that I was started getting these bills in the mail from the hospital system locally, and outrageous. Just the amount that it's like, even for like a visit to a normal doctor's costing me $70, like a copay. So that's, I realize things have gone up, but let me see. What do you say here? Woo Rider says, I know a guy in Florida that has units in his house, and he helps people who can't afford some donation money to help him if he can. They can't, he still helps. Oh, wow. That's really cool, Woo Rider. That's really good. And my heart goes out to people that need it because I'm I told you he was a heavy sleeper. Uh, I told you he was a heavy sleeper. But anyways, that's funny. All right, Eric. That's what happens when you burn that midnight oil all the time and you're not as young as you used to be, brother. Uh, but yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to people that suffer from stuff like, cancer and all that because, honestly, if the way I feel right now with the way things are going, if I could have the possibility of eliminating cancer from affecting humanity in any way, shape, or form, I would literally sacrifice myself for the population to be saved from cancer. Because after what I went through, um, the several times with the cancer, no human should have to go through it. Okay, I mean, I literally, I'm, I use the microwave a lot here in the house, but to heat up water and stuff like that. And I know. Oh, the radiation and all that, and how radiation kills the minerals in the water and all that. Yes, I know, and the food. But I was told by the doctor from that did my surgeries to limit my being around microwave because it could kill me. And it's kind of redundant because I've already got a death sentence anyways, so I'm going to just live life to the fullest as I can and and basically, go from there. I mean, whatever happens happens. I'm here for as long as the good Lord lets me be here, okay? So, okay, Eric, get off the chat. I'm gonna you better be getting ready, brother. Anyways, I'm just teasing. Um, what I was saying about the 411 though, and the national parks and all that, with the Native American ceremonies of protection for the sacred lands, and in the Black Hills are one too. The Black Hills are very sacred to my people. Part of my people's blood. Okay. The Smoky Mountains are definitely part of another native blood that I have. And the Appalachian Mountains. The lakes of Minnesota are another one. I mean, it's just there's certain areas that holy men, when they're asked to pray for protection, and we go through the whole thing, and we do a flesh offering and all that, and get into it. We don't know what exactly is going to happen, but we can visualize in the ceremony of something that's supposed to happen. Okay, but we don't really we don't really control it per se. It's not like doing a walker ceremony where we can control it with the prayers and the meditations and the songs and the chants. But it's different. It's kind of weird to try to explain to everybody. Okay. Um, but anyways, that's what my theory is on that 411 missing in the national parks. Um, we have been lied to since birth. Okay, since whatever education levels you all have, and I know some of you have got college and all that, and some of us went into the military. Stupid mistake. But anyways, you can basically throw what education you were given from childhood and birth on up to graduating college or whatever, throw it in a trash can because the majority of it is BS. It's complete bullshit. Okay. It really is. It's what they want us to know that they say our history is our history. Columbus did not discover America. We all know that. Why does it still say that within history books? Okay. There were giants, and there was, and a good friends of mine, Scott and Hannah, um, from Squatch America, very very good people. If you can subscribe to their channel, Squatch America, and they're excellent people. I love them to death. They're like my. It's kind of weird to like my brother and sister, but yet they're married. So that's kind of weird. But anyways, if you go to the Squatch America on YouTube and you subscribe, just tell them I sent you. Okay, and very very knowledgeable. Okay, but you know they're out there in the field quite a bit. Okay, and the fact that nobody is really having too much interaction anymore with these deities, these beings, these entities, tells me that there is less ceremony being done for protection. I think a lot of us woke up and realized that doing the ceremonies probably isn't the best thing for humanity, especially for Americans living here on U.S. soil. So, excuse me, I'm getting a drink of coffee. But, anyways, that's just my theory on the missing people and the 411 around the national parks and all that. They say, David says a lot of the stuff is done around water where people are missing, and we have told people so many hundreds, if not thousands of times about the danger of the water. Okay. We've told everybody about the water spirits, about the water babies, about the cryptids that are in the water. But everybody chooses to ignore that fact. Okay. So we're just going to leave that lie like that. Yesterday, we got into the subject of AI and the Men in Black and all that, and the Glimmer Man, Shimmer Man and Glimmer Man, whatever you want to call it, cloaking activities of the military. Eric and I covered that pretty thorough with you guys. But I kind of want to talk more about the potential of AI existing long before we even thought that it did, long before its inception lately. Okay, because something has been controlling everything. And I think it has to do with a little island called Bouvet Island. Okay. So yeah, Camo Dad, good to see you. You're right. Juno, I didn't actually check my emails this morning, so I'll check after the podcast, okay? Yeah, I've heard of the black drink, Glades. Yeah, Camo Dad, I agree. I agree. We decided to do the right thing. Yeah, the black drink. I've definitely heard of that. Camo Dad, water and granite. Yeah, it's both water and granite. Yes, two of the main things. But it has to happen to the individual when they're isolated, when they're solo. And I refer back to the. Oh, let me see here. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. I refer back to the. Remember me talking about the Native American mermaid, which is one of the water entities, one of the water beings, the non-dom kenowet. that the creature is a malevolent being reminiscent of a male mermaid, okay? Having a childlike face with the heads and arms of a human and the rest fish-like, okay? It often attacks solo women and solo children that basically bathe in the rivers and the waters alone, okay? It's both human and supernatural. That is one of the reasons that people are disappearing near the water. You know, and it is truly that. You know, and David Pilates, you know, and everybody else that talks about the missing 411 can deny that fact all they want, but the fact remains that it is a true deity. It's a true cryptid, supernatural cryptid deity. Okay. And it might have manifested more frequently because of some of the prayers that a lot of the holy men are doing. But once it's manifested, we can't really take it back. Okay. Because then what's going to happen when we take it back? What happens is it basically reverts back to us. Okay. Which means bad things are going to happen to us. Okay. If we take it back. That's why I'm always prepared with everything to fight the supernatural within my being. Good morning, sleepyhead.
Morning, brother. Sorry about that.
I saw you posted. Yeah, I saw you posted something at 2:15 in the morning. So,
well, actually, the reason why I was up late is I was playing with my new toy, which I'm not a fan of. It's not working very good. But while I was doing it, I was out with my sound amplifier and I caught some interesting stuff. So I ran in here and I grabbed my recorder and I put it on my sound amplifier. And I took and my little, that's why I've got my kit next to me because it's got all my stuff in it. I took one of my GoPros and tried to turn it on night vision and stick it out there towards that sound. And I had that recorder going out towards that sound because I was trying to catch it again. Because I swear to God, I caught that Japanese voice last night that you hear. It's common with Bigfoot. I could have swore I got chatter last night. So I was like, holy crap. So I was up late trying to catch it again. And I went through I think I caught it with the recorder, but I can't say for sure. I've got to go. So I was up till 2 a.m. listening to stuff, trying to make sure I caught it. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think I may have caught it last night. I got to go through it again. So I was up till about 2:30 this morning playing with that going, oh man, maybe I caught chatter.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Glades. I'm a Native American mutt, Glades. I'm a mutt. I'm half Lakota, which is Sioux, and I'm a quarter Cherokee and a quarter Shawnee. So I'm a mutt. My mother was Shawnee and Cherokee. My father was Sioux, Lakota. Hey, Thriller James is here. See you, man. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up in the chat, Eric. Go ahead and start talking about the chatter.
Okay. Yeah, so I bought I bought that thermal recorder, which it doesn't do as good as I thought. So I'm gonna have to try to hand it back. To me, it ain't worth the money. I'm not happy about it. So when I caught that chatter, I mean, it was like, you know, it was kind of what it sounded. It was kind of faint. I was like, holy crap. So I'm trying to dial in on the direction where it was coming. It was coming mainly from the northeast of me. So I'm out on my porch trying to count it. Bad thing is with all this rain, my dried up creek bed is running. So that creek bed is like overpowering some of it. So it was obviously way further back than my creek. And so I was up late last night trying to just listening to it. And I had my speakers all the way up, listening. So I was like, oh, crap, you know, what the hell? So I think I caught it. I've got to listen to it some more. I've got to isolate it. So I'm going to be working on that today. Unfortunately, I could not get my night vision to pick anything up on my from my GoPro. So I had my these little GoPros here have night vision on them. And so I had to strap to my porch with the IR on. But for some reason, my IR didn't turn on, even though it flashed blue, letting me know the IR was on. It absolutely picked up zero of anything, and it has its own IR light. So I'm like, man, this is pissing me off. So, but I kept catching something like a voice down there to the northeast of me, and like I said, obviously it's on the other side of the creek bed. So I'll play with it today. So then I was up doing that, and then I got something on my phone. I was looking at it, and it was that stuff I put on Weird Warriors as I was trying to get ready for bed. I was like, man, oh, this is interesting. So I popped it. I think it was one or two things I found that got hit on. I think it was on my TikTok, if I remember right. I'll have to look at it again because I'll be honest, I forgot. And because it's going with this current event stuff. So yeah, I'm going to play with that. I'm going to play with that audio some more today. Because I mean, if I caught language, I'm going to be excited, dude. I'm not saying I did yet. I'm saying it's possibly I caught a conversation, and I know there's a few times I could faintly hear human conversation in a direction that's not next to the one of the houses that's around me. You know, I've got the closest house I got to me is roughly 400 yards through the woods on the other side of the gravel road. But the conversations I were picking up were directly east of me. And it sounded like a female talking then too. So I mean, I'm sitting there catching all this different stuff on that deal last night, and I'm like, and that's I caught all that before I went and grabbed my digital recorder. So I don't. Where is it? Right here? Okay. What I do, because this thing only catches 14 seconds of audio. So you can see I got a rubber band here, and I got that so it holds my record button down. And I have this set up so I can take my regular digital recorder I can put everything together on my regular digital recorder. And I ain't got to hold the button down, and it records directly into my digital recorder. So all that's set up. So I can actually take and just move this wherever I want to, and I got to worry about my finger slipping off the trigger. Or I can do like I did last night, and I set this down and I walk away to take the human element out of it. So that's what I do when I'm out digital recording sounds, is I set this up just like that. And so I'm excited, man. I need to go back there again, but it was just got to the point where I was getting too tired. I was like, I gotta go to bed. So as I was getting ready to go to bed, shutting everything down on my computer, I came across, was looking at those and sent those, and then I crawled in bed. Apparently slept through my alarm, or I shut it off and didn't realize it. I don't know yet. I didn't have a deal saying I slept through it, but so I'm guessing I probably shut it off or thinking and I hit snooze and didn't. I was just slept. I was poopered. So I do apologize. But yeah, no, if I catch something, if I find it interesting, I've debated on posting the whole audio, with at least the whole section that all this is involved in, and letting everybody listen to it, dissect it herself. I'm kicking that around. Haven't decided to do that yet or not.
Mhm.
But they're definitely going to be dissecting it. Hey, War Criminal. So
War Criminal 7. Boy, I haven't seen that name in a long time. You've been out hiding, huh?
yeah. But no, I'm excited, dude. I really am. I hope I caught something last night, because this would be amazing if I did.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't know what we mean when we talk about the Asian chatter, or the Chinese chatter type of talking. Um, and this is just my theory on that with Bigfoot and even any cryptid, really. They can mimic pretty good. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And they can also learn pretty good from observing and hearing from a distance. Um, so when we talk about them speaking in like an Asian chatter type of a talk, it's probably due to the fact that, think about all the thousands upon thousands of Asians that worked on the railroads cutting through the high timber country in the early 1800s to the 1900s. Okay. um Obviously these cryptid creatures have been studying those people that put the railroads and stuff and the roads in, because the majority of them were Asian. They were like 90% Asian, and then the rest were Anglo Saxon white, type of people. But when you have that big of an Asian population, you're going to have a lot of talk back and forth. And if these cryptids are within earshot, and I believe that their hearing, that Bigfoot's hearing is just as good as anything out there,
Mm-hmm.
as far as wildlife and stuff. Um, they could probably hear something. They can probably hear a whisper from a mile away. That's just a theory of mine, but it kind of makes sense. So yeah, after all those years of listening to the Asians working on the railroad and cutting the roads and stuff through wilderness, and hammering the spikes into the ground and all that, you know, that makes it obvious to me that Bigfoot learned the Asian chatter from the Asian people working at those times on our railroads and the roads going through the remote areas of the country. It just makes sense to me. It's like when they build stick structures shaped like a teepee. They know that the teepee represents family, and because they watched that from the native people here locally, okay, in America, when they put their
Mm-hmm.
teepees up, they watched them how they overlap the poles on one and another. Okay, when they put the structure together. Okay, that's why Bigfoot overlap the poles in a teepee structure. Okay, they just don't have the buffalo hide or canvas or anything to put around it like a teepee. So they
Okay.
make it
Got
solid. Yeah, they make it
quite,
solid all the way around. So,
and I've
but yeah,
actually got
that's
quite.
and that's yeah, that's
Go ahead.
actually just my theory. That's just my theory, but I could be wrong on it.
Well, and I've got pictures, few pictures of that happening on my property here. And I've done it. I've showed it on the show. It was in that docu series that I was on, Linda Eastburn. And I've actually got
Oh,
several. Hey, Jessica, I've actually got several tree structures where you can see that trees
girl
had
with a
been
dong.
put up just like a TP style, and I've got a lot of them that's X'd out, like right on the edge of my game cam views is where I usually find an X formation of trees. I've got those, and then I mean, yeah, like you said, like the samurai chatter. That's kind of what I caught last night. Could have swore I caught last night was originally it
Thank you,
started out like
sister.
a samurai chatter, and then it
Yeah,
moved on to a different kind that I've never heard before. So then it's like I talked on the show last night. You know, they obviously communicated with us because they traded with Native Americans. And so therefore they spoke a language.
right.
And there's several times, several cases of them talking like a type of Native American. So they obviously have a way of doing speech because you can't deny what, you know, the Native Americans reported or what other people reported. And of course, what I caught last night, man, I'm really hoping I could get that sound level made right where I can hear that better. But I think I caught samurai chatter last night and possibly a different kind of language on top of that. So they do they can speak language and they can build things. I mean, people tell you, oh, that you know some things, and I'll tell you if something don't look like it was built, it's possible tree fall. You know, and anytime I post something like that, I say it in there. This is possibly tree fall. But the reason why I'm leaning more towards this was built is because of how they're overlaid and the fact there's nothing else around it to cause it to be that way.
Hmm.
You know, I'm always
Exactly.
hey, right. So yeah, no, it was that's yeah. I was up late last night because of that. I'm excited. I've still got to go through this audio some more. Ah, dang it, my daughter ain't up yet. I was hoping she was up to make me some coffee.
I'm almost
Uh,
out too, so it might be a short podcast.
yeah, I didn't even get a chance to make any. I went, oh crap! I just happened to look up and grab my phone and seen I had a message from Roxanne. I was like, oh. But yeah, no, it'd be great. I may post the section of the audio that I recorded last night that has that stuff in there and let everybody just kind of listen to it and see what they think. But I'm definitely going to play with it because I got to try to get that. I try to get that figured out. It is faint, but you can hear
Yeah,
it.
Kevin, Kevin's got a good comment here. It makes me wonder what meaning they put behind the words. Yeah, and it's true. But like when we're taught, you got to think back to when we were children. Okay, when we were just learning the English language. Okay, which I try not to promote that too much. But when we look back at our childhood, we're taught from repetitiveness over and over again. And when we're learning a language, and say somebody picks up you know a rock, okay, and they say rock, in English or even Chinese. I'm not even sure what the word rock is in Chinese. Enough
Mm,
several times over and over again. And if one of the Sasquatch that are watching these people, they're watching them hold up that object or point to that object and say a certain word. And they can actually correlate, what that word or verbal, speaking actually represents. They may not have the concept of the entire thing, like if you say it's a um, a ska rock, a white rock, they'll
mm,
know that you're saying rock. They're not knowing you're speaking white rock. Okay, so they get the generality of speech that way. Okay, um, now it's up to us to try and figure out what they mean when they're speaking that. Okay, so we
mm,
may have a bit to our advantage of interpreting their actual verbal speech from foreign languages like Chinese, and or any other Asian language, Native American language. And let's not also you got to remember sign language. Okay, Native American sign language was a big thing too, when we dealt with doing trading and stuff with these family units, okay, that were friendly to us. So, we have a very vague idea of what some of the chatter is that they're saying, um, as far as interpreting it. Okay. But we don't know exactly what they're saying, but we have, like a 5% grasp on what they might be saying. You know, I mean, for all we know, they could be saying, "Hey, look at that dumbass, in the middle of the woods looking for us."
Yeah.
I mean, that could be it. Watch that dumbass smack a tree with a baseball bat. They think we do
Mm-hmm.
that. No, they don't do that. They do that with their mouths. That's how
Yep.
powerful. That's how powerful their lungs are, and their knowledge is. Okay, they can mimic anything. They can mimic us talking. You know, that's the intelligence factor that we're dealing with when it comes to Bigfoot. Okay, so we need to keep that in mind, um, and you'll know from interacting with them that there are some out there that they claim that the inbreeding may happen if you see a three-toed footprint, that might be due to inbreeding, and it very well could be. And we all know that the inbreeding aspect of it could potentially happen. But with as many sightings that we're having around America and
Mm-hmm.
Canada, um, I think the inbreeding has stopped to a point because there are so many of them around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're starting to produce and reproduce a lot more. Okay. So, and again, that's just my theory, but I think the reason we're not seeing too many three-toed tracks or four-toed tracks is because their communities are actually getting larger in population. So you're going to have less of a chance for inbreeding. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But you also got to consider that when they take women for breeding, I mean, they're taking that possibility of inbreeding out by doing that. And that's why I kind of talked about it last night on my show when I said, "Hey, think of it this way: genetically, we're very similar because they can have offspring, with us. That's why they take women for breeding.
right.
They've done it to the Native Americans, and they've done it recently. There's been reports of women come up missing. So when you get that thrown involved too, I mean, you're cutting that gene pool and keeping it from being too diluted with inbreeding by doing that way.
Right.
I
And
mean,
we also, yeah, we also got to take into fact too that our own genetic makeup has lizard DNA, chimpanzee DNA, and pig DNA. So whenever you're talking about, certain cryptids and people being kidnapped for reproduction or whatnot, it's not that far off that it could happen. It's not. It goes from being a uh, a theory to being something that's more solidified in fact. Okay, so it's just that and these are just we're just throwing this out there because nobody is the expert in this field. I don't care who you are or what you think you are. Um,
mm-mm.
Egos end up writing checks that a lot of these so-called professionals can't cash. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's the big problem with this field of research is you have so many people out there saying, "Oh, you're wrong. I know for a fact that they're this way." No, everybody could be right if you think about it,
Yep.
because you got certain geographical areas in the country where certain geographical areas, like living in a swamp, when you come across a skunk ape or a swamp ape, um, they're going to be nasty because they live in that environment. They're having to fight for
Mm-hmm.
food, for water, to stay warm constantly. They're on the attack. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So and with the cryptid world being such as it is, you can either succumb to being defensive all the time, or you can be aggressive all the time and be the alpha that we know a lot of these beings are. Okay. Um, I mean, because if I lived in a swamp and got flooded out, continually had my feet wet and my all the way up to my knees, had to fight water moccasins and stuff for food, wild boar, bears,
Right.
cougars, you know, there's just so many different things. And humanity, you think about the human factor that goes back into the swamps to go frog hunting, mushroom hunting, I mean, they're going to be aggressive. It's just the way it is because of their geographical region. Okay. When you have the
Mm-hmm.
ones from up north in Alaska, they're having to battle to stay warm and hungry. They're having to battle everything, not only the animals in the area with the grizzlies, the polar bears, the moose, you know, the wolverines, but they're having to deal and battle against the elements. Okay. So yeah, they're going to be big, bad, mean MFers. Okay. They really are. Okay. So people have to realize that we can all be, actually correct in our diagnosis of why they're aggressive or why they like to trade with humans and all this. It just We could all be exactly right. We're just in different actual geographical regions, okay, and we're
Yeah.
dealing with different. That's why I always said, my father always told me there's four types of these Bigfoot. Okay. You have the big, mean ones from Alaska and the Yukon area, the Nehan Valley. You have the small ones that came up from South America, from the Amazon in South America, and they inhabited all the swamp areas from Texas all the way over to Florida. Okay. They look more like 6 foot, 7 foot tall chimpanzees than anything, but that's pretty much what they look like. Then you got the Gugway, which came in from the Yukon and all that, and down that way into Minnesota and Montana and all that. Then you've got the human-looking ones that look like Neanderthals, which are the family units that like to trade and like to be giving gifts and all this. That's why you find feathers on vehicles. You'll find rocks on porches. Okay. And all that. I mean, there's so many things that, I personally have dealt with these beings, um, in my almost 60 plus years here. Okay. Um, that it's amazing. I mean, we are all correct. Okay. I'm not going to say anybody's wrong because nobody is wrong in this. It's just still a fact of research that we really don't know that much about. But if we all put together our 2 cents, we can figure it out.
Oh wow.
Just as easy as I figured out the Chinese chatter that the Bigfoot use. And how they learned it. That's just how they learned it. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of Asian people building railroads and shouting in their language and at night sitting around a fire, to get warm and eat food. And they come in close enough, they can overhear the conversation. And if they do it enough, they're going to know what certain words mean. You
Mm-hmm.
know, certain word for hammer, the certain word for tree, the certain word for rail, the certain word for rock. They're going to know certain things. Okay. They're just not going to know specific things. Okay. So,
Yeah. And I can't dispute the theory that they have their own language. I really can't. One of the theories that I put out there, and this is a theory that I kind of look into. If you go back to Homo erectus, the first ape to set up and walked on 2 feet. You know, if they went one way, and this is where we get all our Bigfoot from, is from that, and we branched off, became what we are. that tells you two things. One, there's definitely a possibility for them having their own language, and two, that'd be why we are so genetically similar to the point we can reproduce, because we came from that same time frame. That's just
Yeah.
my theory because it kind of fits in there. You look how they
Right.
look, you think about Homo erectus, what he looked, and then you look at us, and then everything tied. That would be why, because we come from the same location. We just branched off and became something else.
Exactly. Exactly. And and Jessica, as well as anybody, my friend, for going out there and doing your research, that everything that you know, some other researchers may not know. You know,
Hmm.
so sharing that intel in the community is the biggest part of actually solving the mystery. Okay,
Hmm.
we have to share. We have to accept everybody's opinion and research openly. Okay, because to be honest with you, nobody is wrong. Okay,
No.
nobody's wrong because nobody's an expert. Okay, so that's just my opinion.
Oh
So
yeah, it's like I always said. I may not agree with somebody else's theory, but it doesn't make them wrong, me right, or me wrong, them right. It's just from what I've always experienced, it led me this way. Neither one of us are wrong or right. We've all experienced something a little different, and that's why I always say we are so separated in this field. This is why we're stagnant, and we need to
right,
quit being stagnant. I'll give you
right,
my point of view, my research, my evidence, and I'm listening to yours as well. And once we combine this, we're going. But honestly, and the truth is, until we actually come out and have physical contact with them and see how things are, like our Native American ancestors used to do, and that's why I keep telling people, if you want to really know, go back to research on the Indian and our Indian ancestors and how they communicated, because they warred with them, they traded with them, they lived they were all part of the same ecosystem
right.
together. They're going to be more knowledgeable about this than any of us are nowadays, and people throw their throw their stories out because it's, I want to believe this way. You can't be so dead set on this. I can only believe this, and this is only it, and then I don't care what anybody else says. That's how you stagnate the pool, folks. I mean, that's why I'm always saying, doing
Exactly.
research. Our Native American
Right,
ancestors lived, around them, fought them, traded with them. They're going to be more knowledgeable about them than any of us are.
right. And once you befriend them, you make a friend for life. You really
Hmm.
do. Because especially with the human ones that are like 9 to 10 feet tall maximum, um,
Hmm.
they are so family oriented,
Hmm.
that it almost reminds me of like when the woman that studied the apes in Africa, Jane
Yeah.
Goodall, whenever she studied the apes in Africa, how she actually lived with them for a time in the wild
Hmm.
and learned their the way they lived, and they come to look at her as one of their own, you know, so they kind of looked out for her. That's the same concept as with Bigfoot, people. The
Hmm.
same concept. Okay. If you're nice to them, you're respectful to them, you trade with them. And I'm strictly talking the human looking ones. Okay. I'm not talking the Gugway or the Alaskan ones, because they'll probably rip your head off to just to do it, because that's how nasty they are.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, the human looking ones that can be up to 9 to 10 feet tall, um, if you act like them like family, if you treat them like family, distant family, and trade with them and stuff, they're going to be your friend for life, and they're going to look out for you and your family, because that's the way
Hmm.
they are. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Now they are, like in any type of populace, as far as you know mankind goes, and Bigfoot go, you're going to have your good ones and your bad ones, because occasionally you will have ones out there that just don't want nothing to do with humans, that will bluff charge you, okay, and chase you out of the area just to get you away from them, okay. And if you're bluff charged more than once, then that's the reason to stay away from them. Okay. Try to find another family unit to involve with and to get interaction with. Because to tell you the truth, after the second bluff charge, you're not going to have a third. Okay. So that's from the research that I've done in the wild. Okay. They'll give you 2 bluff charges and that's it. If you don't heed their warning from that to get away from them, the last bluff charge is going to be the last thing you see.
Yep.
Plain and simple. Okay. Now, when I say they'll be your friend for life because you treat them like family, I mean that. There was a guy in Ohio that I used to know. I'm not even sure if he's still alive anymore. I should check into that. But he had a big chicken coop outside his property by the property's edge, and he would walk about 100 feet to go to the chicken coop, and it was aligned. His property was aligned with woods. Okay, and he was probably the only house within a mile area. Okay, in Ohio at the time, and he would go out and he would see, how well kept the chicken coop was and how productive the chickens were by laying eggs, but he would always notice that there were a couple eggs missing. Okay. Now, this went on for weeks. Every day he'd go out, he'd collect the eggs, and all that, and he'd notice that there's a couple eggs missing. Okay. From the amount of chickens that he had, he knew exactly how many eggs he was going to get. Okay. So he goes out there another time and he puts a camera up in a tree, up off a branch looking down at the pen. And he actually figured out that it was a Bigfoot coming in, playing with the chickens, petting the chickens, and cleaning them, picking their dead feathers off of their bodies and stuff, and setting them gently back down, on the ground inside the chicken coop, and going and taking a couple eggs, opened the door to the chicken coop, turned around, closed it, and locked the door, which is intelligence. Okay.
Yep.
And walked away with a couple eggs. There was a Bigfoot actually that befriended him because he had chickens, and only for a couple eggs every day, every evening, he would go and he would take care of the chickens.
Heck yeah.
Now, I thought that was amazing. This is the kind of intelligence that I'm talking about, the kind of caring that the human ones have. Okay. So, but yeah, it's amazing when you really deal with the human ones. You'll be amazed at just how accepting they are, just like the great silverback apes for Jane Goodall. So, but
oh yeah, yeah, that's it. And all this we have. Sorry, guys. All this we got to take into consideration because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But I mean, you have to be careful. You really, I can't stress that enough. You have to be careful out there because you can't automatically think I know exactly what they're thinking and going to do because that's going to wind up biting you in the backside in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. War Criminal knows about the bluff charge, and
yeah,
they could probably tell you themselves that if you get more than 2 bluff charges, there better not be a third one because you won't be living. You'll literally you'll get stomped on. You will literally get stomped on. Okay. And they're, the bluff charges are just like any animal out there, any wildlife. There's a video going around of a hiker that experienced a mother mountain lion with 2 cubs. And
oh yeah,
he was walking down the trail and she came at him and she would lunge at him. Okay. And she would hit her claws onto the dirt, and she lunged at him twice. Okay. If he stuck around for a third time, they would have had one hell of a fight between the 2 of them. Okay. Oh. But he decided to just continue to back off. Okay. And, most wildlife will, even grizzly bears will give you a bluff charge, okay, as to say, stay away from me. I'm a badass. You don't want no part of me. Okay. And if you don't
Mhm.
pay attention to that bluff charge, I'm sorry, but you're grizzly meat.
Yeah.
You're their breakfast or dinner. You know,
No.
that's just the fact of life. That's the way wildlife is called wildlife. You know, that's how they interact with humans.
Yeah. And so you gotta, when you go out in the woods, you can't go out there thinking you're, Mr. Dora the Explorer. You got to realize that's you're stepping into their world, and it's very important to
Uh-oh.
remember that. That is, oh man, that is their
Uh-oh.
world, and you got to respect it. If you don't
Yeah.
respect it, you're going to pay the price.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
just
it's just, it's something that, I just, I want this information passed on to a lot of the researchers out there, but a lot of them just there's some of them that are just so blinded by their own egos,
hmm
um, that they don't want to take the obvious, you know, research that people like myself have done for God since birth, practically. I
hmm
almost got a feeling like one of them was my nanny because I remember when I was a little child, having something big and hairy take care of me, Um, but it's just, it's amazing that, some researchers just aren't open-minded enough to actually accept what we talk about.
Yeah,
You know,
and that you're right. I mean, and that's the aggravating part of it is the fact that they won't even consider any of it because they're so hell bent that it's my way or the highway that they're not opened up to another point of view. And I take a lot of what other people say, and okay, I like I can see that, or just and I'll tell you if it's not something I experienced, that's not something I'm experienced, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
oh, girl
That's
with a
thing.
gong. I like what girl with the gong says here. Don't pet the buffalo in Yellowstone.
Oh God. Oh man.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, that's
Tatonka.
great.
Yeah,
That's actually pretty good.
or not
Yeah.
Tatonka. Yeah, Tatonka. Yeah, Tatonka. Yeah, don't pet
Yeah.
Tatonka. Sorry, I got wolf and buffalo mixed up for a second.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, man. I don't know, folks. I mean, I'm all for anybody going out in the woods doing an investigation. I encourage people to do it, but I just encourage you to do it the right way. Be smart about it. That's all I ask. Is I ask that you be smart about your investigation when you're out there. I tell people all the time. Yes, I have very peaceful interactions with my guest here. I do, but at the same time, folks, I'm not stupid, and I know that. Oh, daggone it! I know that. There can be a time that I got one that's not going to be very friendly back. So I mean, you got to be smart. I'll count my blessings as
Exactly.
long as I
Exactly.
can. It only goes so far. There it is. Sorry, I was getting my battery charger out here for my GoPro because I'm going to go out in the woods here in a little bit because I want to look for some footprints, and I couldn't find my dang battery charger to my GoPro. But
Mm,
and that's the thing you got to think about is you have to be willing to admit that you don't know what's out there and what they're like. Go with an open mind, go with an open
exactly.
heart, go with a pure mind and a pure heart. I can't stress that enough. It is extremely important to go with a pure mind and a pure heart. Um, if you don't, you're going to regret it. Hey, Kim,
Yeah.
I'd like to
I
hear
can.
that what people think of the hand slap on the side of the wall at 3 a.m. That's generally them either that could, and this is my opinion, that can either be them kind of messing with you, like, watch what I'm going to do to them, blah, like a little juvenile. Because you got to think, their kids are no different than our kids, folks. And I've got a family group that comes on here, and I've shown proof of that on the docu series I was on and the shows I've done. I've got 3 different size footprints, and they're all together. Their kids are going to be kids, so they're like, what's you ever played? No, I forgot what we called it now.
Ring dash.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see, that's the same concept for them, or it could be them saying, "Hey, I'm here, don't come out." That is another possibility.
I'm just glad they're not putting flaming bags of poop on your stoop.
Yeah, no kidding. No, well, and one of the things that I found, because this is something that happens quite often. I just realized my speaker was like extremely loud. I'm sorry if I was backtracking, everybody. Like last night, I heard something when I was sitting here. I was listening to Jessica's show last night, and I thought I heard something on my ramp, which is right outside my window here, which is not uncommon here. My guests like to let me know that when they're around, and I kept hearing something on my window tapping, and I looked, couldn't see nothing, and then a few minutes later, I heard something tapping on my ramp. So I was like, all right, man, maybe they're back here and they're kind of watching me and let me know, hey, I'm here, type deal, because that's usually what happens quite often. I've got footprints have led up to my old window in my living room, and that window, the bottom of it's roughly 6 foot off the ground. And I could have swore I've sat in my easy chair, what something was staring at me through the windows, and I found footprints there. 17-inch footprints sitting outside that window. So this is something that I've dealt with for 32 years out here with my guest is that type of stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm pretty confident going out in my woods, but I'm also not stupid, because I could be, but they have ways of telling you they're here, and banging seems to be one of them. Another thing they do is they let out a call, like I'll go to my work, I leave for work at 0600, and I'll be walking out to my truck, and all of a sudden I'll go, whoop, whoop, and I'm like, hey guys, all right, have a good one. I'm off to work, and go. They know exactly what you're doing. They know when you're home, when you're not home. They know when you leave, when you don't leave. They know your routine. They're not dumb. They're not dumb by no means. They know your routine.
When I was younger, I was probably just before I went into the military. I was out with a brother of mine, a Native American brother of mine, and I was collecting, things, being gifted things, for my medicine bundle, my medicine bag. And we were in a creek, in a very almost a pretty big creek. It was like 30 feet across. But we were walking around, and I was laying tobacco on the water, saying thank you, laying tobacco in the woods and saying thank you, and I was standing in ankle deep water, and something told me, something mind spoke to me, okay, which is exactly what Girl in a Gong said, I believe, earlier in the chat, that basically look at your feet. And I looked down at my feet, and I saw this pristine obsidian spearhead. Okay, not an arrowhead, but a spearhead, an actual spearhead. And I picked it up, and something told me to look to my right, and I look into the tree line, and in the darkness of the tree line, I can see a silhouette of something at least 9 feet tall. Okay. And I had the feeling that it was smiling, okay, at me. And I put it together after that incident, that this was the one Bigfoot that I had interacted with my whole childhood, that was giving me something that he probably held in his highest regard. So I ended up, cleansing that and wrapping it in red cloth and setting it out in the sun, and smudging it and praying over it, and put it in my medicine bag. So, if anybody says that they don't mind speak, I'm sorry, but they do. Okay. Not all of them will. I mean, the ones coming down from Alaska, I don't believe will mind speak, but yeah, yeah, I do. I do.
Yep.
Um, and basically, yeah, Camo Dad, I believe that. I believe that actually, but basically, it was there the whole time and I didn't know it, okay, until I got told to turn to my right to actually see him standing there. And, you know, just having that feeling of having that obsidian spearhead in my hand and looking at him and him smiling at me, as saying, that's for you. You've done good.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to have that for your medicine bag, and I did, and I laid more tobacco on the water and I laid more tobacco on the tree next to the water, and, you know, I went back to that same spot a year later and I'd leave like an apple, or some whatever I had on me, to kind of say thank you. And I'd always go back the next day and the apple would be gone, or the orange would be gone, or the trail mix that I had would be gone. So, it kind of made me feel like, this is how I learned that the human ones, that look more human than ape, have more of a family value and more of a caring nature than the other types. Okay. That was my first time that I realized, and it dawned on me that, you know what, they're not much different from us. So what if they're hairy? But they're really not much different from us. They're loving and they're family oriented, and they protect their family and they take care of their extended family. Kind of like the weirdo warrior chat, I mean, that's basically
Yeah.
what it is. So, but it was an amazing experience, and you know, and I've had that experience my whole life, and it doesn't matter where I am. It seems like he follows me. Okay, um, so
Yeah. What Glades was asking, I don't think it's so much of invisibility as cloaking. From what I've seen, it's like they've got adaptive camouflage, just like a deer does, a copperhead does, and most of your wildlife in nature, because you can't see them until they move, and when they move is when you can see them. So that's not really cloaking, in my opinion. That's not really cloaking or invisibility. It's adaptive camouflage. They blend into their environment, and I've seen
right,
that before, where you can see them and then they stop and all of a sudden it looks like they disappear. And people say, "Oh, he jumped in the portal." No, it's adaptive camouflage, and that's kind of where I am on it, on that aspect, just because that's what I've seen.
right. Now, the average lifespan, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Teleporting two glades, that's a good theory too. Um, but
yeah,
the adaptive camouflage is something that, I mean, when I was in the military and I told you to leave me for 10 minutes and come back and see if you can see me, um,
hmm,
you wouldn't be able to see me, because they teach us
yeah,
that good to camouflage ourselves in the military. Um, so they have that natural ability to make themselves look like a tree stump. And
hmm,
if they have the ability to mind speak, they probably have the ability to put something in your mind, like instead of them being seen, you're seeing a red fox or a coyote or a deer.
hmm,
So, um, good question. What is the average lifespan of Bigfoot, do you think?
hmm,
Roo Rider, I would say that their life expectancy is probably along the same lines as humans. It would be like low 80s for men and high 80s to 90s for women. Um,
hmm,
but that's just, a theory. because I was dealing with the same ones over and over again for the first, you know, up to 21 years of my life. And then when I moved away from it, um, I swear to God, they followed me. So they know whenever we make that connection, they'll know where you're at, and they'll know if you need anything or need any help. There was a young lady that I knew. She was Native American in California, and I can't remember what nation, but one of the Southern California nations, and she was basically chased by a big Bigfoot. This thing was huge. It was bluff charged once, and she stopped dead in her tracks, and she put out a little basket of food and stuff. And she came back the next day, and the food was gone. And she saw this male Bigfoot standing there, a human looking one, about 9 feet tall, and he was smiling at her, and she got to know this Bigfoot family from interacting with them, by trading with them. She'd bring blankets. She would she even went so far as to say that she made like jewelry and stuff, primitive jewelry and stuff for them, and the female Bigfoot actually wore the jewelry. But one day that she went there, she couldn't find them, and here they were hiding. A big Bigfoot from up in Alaska, Yukon territory, came down into Southern California in the mountain range there. I think it's the Sierras, and was going to attack the woman, the female. Okay, and she basically screamed, and because this thing bluff charged her, and this thing was like, she said it was probably about half as tall as the human looking one, which would put it about 16 feet, maybe 15 feet tall. And it had to have weighed over the weight of the Bigfoot that was 9 foot tall by at least 700-800 pounds. Okay. And she said that the human looking one that was friends with her came out and fought that Bigfoot from the north. And the Bigfoot from the north picked him up like a rag doll and threw him into a tree. And he got back up and he tried again. That human looking Bigfoot, the 9 foot tall Bigfoot, was protecting his extended family. Okay. And you got to keep that in mind, because here you have both the good and the bad at the same spot. And it happens like that when you have humans around. What do you think happens out in the wild? That's why these human looking Bigfoot are so protective of their family, and why they bluff charge twice. Okay, because they don't want any harm to come to their family, and they will actually let themselves die before they let that happen. The alphas of the group. So, and if the human looking ones fight the big ones that come down from Alaska and the Yukon territory, that they probably do that in the wild. So
yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that. I really do, because that's my guest out here has never physically shown themselves to me. They mess with me from time to time. They let me know they're here. I left some plastic rubies or whatever you call them out on a tree stump out there, and I had the rest in a closed jar sitting inside of there where it wouldn't come out. And I went out and they've been gone, and the jar was up out of that stump and laying on the ground. which I've got video of that, that going on. Um, they do that kind of stuff, but they're, like I said here, the ones here, they're not malicious. Now, when they tell me, they let me know telepathically, hey, you don't need to be in the woods right now, and I won't go in the woods unless I absolutely have to. If I absolutely
Mhm.
have to, I'll go out there. I'm usually packing pretty heavy, but they know that I go out there, I get what I need to get done. I don't waste time. I get it done and I get out. I
Exactly.
respect that part. And so far, that's played well for me because they haven't messed with me on that. I've had different two different dogs. I think they're dog skulls put on my porch before. I've had a um, a pizza box, an empty pizza box when I even had that kind of pizza on my porch. Is out of nowhere. I was mowing, a few weeks back and lost my turkey feather that my brother gave me. Went by a spot, that feather wasn't there, and I came back and that feather was there. And all I did was
Mhm.
made a loop around my field. So I made one loop, it wasn't there. When I came back to the second loop, it was there. And I just had a feeling that that was meant for me. So I picked it up and I
Exactly.
put it in my hat. You know,
Exactly.
they
Yeah,
do that
exactly.
kind of stuff.
Exactly. And you always will have you'll have a sign to tell you whether they're going to be friendly or whether they're going to be aggressive. That's
Hmm.
what the two bluff charge system is. Okay. And that's, but I for one, I don't condone going out into the woods and hammering on trees, the sides of trees with a baseball bat.
No,
I really,
no.
that to me, that is just, that's just not the way I do it. Okay. What I tell people to do is just to go to the woodline edge with your tobacco, take your shoes and your socks off, curl your toes up into the ground, feel that grass and the twigs and stuff between your toes and the leaves, and lay the tobacco on the ground and just say mentally out loud, that you're there with good intentions and you're going
Hmm.
to have a good interaction. Um,
Hmm.
but if you go there disrespectfully, um, you're going to have a bad interaction. I mean, that's their living room. That's like somebody busting in the door of your house, coming in and tearing up your living room. You know, to them, that's how they feel. You know,
Yeah.
so the more respectful you are, the more appreciative you are, the more interaction you're going to have on a good way. Okay, not a bad way.
Yep.
If you're going in there with a 6 pack of beer to hunt deer on their land and have a loud gun with you, and you're going to get a lot of aggression. Just look what happened to me when I was 12 years old on a dirt bike on a motorcycle. By having that branch thrown at me just because I was riding the motorcycle, the loud motorcycle, the dirt bike, through their hunting area because I saw deer standing off to the side and the Bigfoot standing there next to the tree that threw the branch at me that made me fall off the motorcycle to basically tell me to shut up and get out of there because they were hunting.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I've ever had any aggression towards me when dealing with them. Okay. And I hope people share this out and all the information that's in this podcast because there's so much more I want to tell people, but I'm going to gradually do it because I don't want to end up doing 4 or 5 hour podcasts. I just don't have that in me anymore. But
Mhm.
I hope everybody can learn from it, from our experiences and stuff, and just move forward with their own investigations. Audacious Amber, how are you doing? Um, what's I've heard of people having the experience of having the Bigfoot in their rifle barrel sights and Bigfoot looking straight at them, making the rifle person feel like they are in no way to want to shoot. Oh, I know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, first off, if you shoot, you better make sure you got a strong enough rifle to put that thing down because let me tell you, the ones that I've dealt with, even though they were human facial features, um, they were super strong. I mean, you talk almost superhuman, like this
Yeah.
is what they were. I mean, they pull out trees out of the ground. root ball and all, and they'll
Yeah.
shove it back into the ground upside down. You know, I mean, these things are incredibly strong. You know, what's Camo Dad saying
Yeah.
here? The only one I ever saw was hunting, more sitting in the woods, enjoying the view when crossed me and let me see it. Yeah. Now see, in Camo Dad, you probably just, you probably had that mindset of just the peaceful and calmness. And that's the kind of interaction you have, you know? You appreciated the
Mm-hmm.
environment, and that's why you had that encounter. And that's the one thing I try to teach everybody. If you want to have that encounter, you got to interact with the environment, okay, in a good way. You don't interact in a negative way, because only negativity is going to bring back aggression towards you, and you don't want something that weighs 1,000 pounds and stands 9 feet tall standing on your chest. So believe me, okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean,
Thank you, Dave.
yeah, it's like I always say, it's like the old Native American proverb: when you're out hunting, you don't think about hunting, because your thoughts soar through the air like an arrow and they pick it up. Bigfoot's the same way; they can read your thoughts. Now, I'm a firm believer they
Juno,
put
I'll
their
get
thoughts
back
into
to
you.
you. Yeah.
Mm,
I'm just telling Juno I'm going to get back to his email. So, um,
yeah, that's good, Kim. I'm glad to hear that. That's what we're here about.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we're not here we're not here to scare you off, but we're here to keep you cautious. Keep an open mind of what's out there. Because we're
Yeah,
no, and like he said it and I've said it, none of us are experts on this. We can just tell you what our experiences are. And there's a big difference between
exactly.
what I have here and what Fred has in Alaska. Me growing up in
Hmm.
Missouri, I was born and raised in northern Missouri, and I live in South Missouri now. Up in northern Missouri, they're known as Momo. Down here, they're known as Booger. The
Right.
description up there of Momo is different than the description of the Booger down here. I mean, there's different types. There's different ones. At one time, and a lot of Native American stories, this is where it leads to, is when white man came over. But at one time, they were all one family unit, and then they split up because one wanted to hunt and kill them, where the other one just wanted to leave them alone and be left alone. And that's where you get the Gugwe and in the Shiitonka, you know, um, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. The two different types is because of that feud between them over what they want to do with humans. I don't know exactly when it happened. It's just a lot of Native Americans tales will tell you that it happened around the time white man came.
Yeah.
No, you're welcome.
Well, yeah, you're very welcome, everybody. You're very welcome. Um, Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you very much, dear. Yeah, that means a lot to me. That means a very
Mm-hmm.
lot to me. And as long as the creator lets me continue to talk and try to teach people, on certain aspects of dealing with the cryptid and the paranormal, um, and again, it's just based off of my own life experiences since birth. When you interact with these things, like I was up in the Seneca Reservation at Cattaraugus, New York. I was up there. I was up there several times. Powwows and the whole nine yard, and ceremony, sweat lodge and stuff. Um, and I was in a what they called the Tennessee River Regatta. Okay, it's kind of like this race. I was young and dumb, Um, I was with a couple buddies, and you get in these canoes or these rafts, and you go down the river, and there's like three stops with beer with kegs, and you drink a beer, and you get back in. It was a race, and
Mm-hmm.
we never really ended up actually even coming close to winning the race. Um, my other two buddies were big time drinkers, and they would stay and get like three or four drinks in within a minute. And those 12-ounce plastic red cups, and I'd just drink one, and that would be it. And because you had to drink at least one in order to continue in the race. But several times when we did this race, in between the stops on the river's edge, you knew you were being watched. Okay, you knew something was standing there in the high weeds and the trees, watching you, and it just you can't get over it. You can tell when it's something malevolent. Okay, we all know because the hair on the back of our neck stands up, or the chill down our spine will happen, or our feet won't move. Our legs won't take us out of there. That's the malevolent part of it. But I never felt like it was a bad thing. Never had rocks or boulders thrown at us in the river. So it was a good thing. But they were watching us, and that's how they learn. That is literally how they learn. You could have 16 people, 17 people around you, and talking and drumming and singing and just talking back and forth and pointing at things. And I can guarantee you that not far away, you're going to have a cryptid creature watching you and learning from your interactions with each other, because that's how they learn, So, that being said, everybody, I'm going to let Eric explain a little bit about what's going on with his channel and his books and stuff. And then I'm going to, let you know that email me. I got to go through my emails today after the podcast. But also keep my son in your prayers. One of my sons got attacked last night by something supernatural and has a scratch down his leg. So if you all would definitely keep him in your prayers, something is definitely wanting me to shut my mouth and not do these broadcasts. And when you attack my family, you attack me, and I don't hold kindly to that. So whatever supernatural is happening, I'm going to take care of it right after this podcast. So, but please like, heart, and share this out, because the more people we have to watch this that are in the research of Bigfoot, the better the world's going to be in the research world. Okay. If you can help support us in the channel by doing a super sticker or a super chat, and all that. I've got several videos I'm still working on. I recorded American Monsters the other night, and I didn't have the microphone on. Yeah, I had no audio on, so I got to redo that. So that's why it wasn't released this weekend. That's old age-itis. But yeah, you can go to Eric's and my bonfire stores. Eric's is bonfire store, bizarre and unknown. And then mine is Into the Red Rabbit Hole. Let's see, what else do we need to do? We need to. Oh yeah, and Audacious Amber definitely will. And then
yeah,
I will try to get those videos out here as soon as I can, but I got to deal with this issue with the supernatural entity. And
you can't wait.
Go ahead. Yeah,
go ahead. Can't wait too long on that, bro.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's it. I can't believe how much this attacks we're having lately. I mean, look at the one I had on me the other Friday on your show. I mean, it's running rampant right now. But for me, EMS, I tried to put in there my email if you're interested, because I'd love to hear that story of that dream. Dreams are very interesting things. A lot of times there's messages in dreams. But for some reason it didn't pop up on here. It's the cryptid and mythological at gmail.com. I'd love to hear that story. But for me, if you guys have any encounters you want me to do a show on, or you want to share something to me, email me at cryptid and mythological at gmail.com. If you want me to do a video on it, I'll do a video. If you want to be anonymous, I'll keep you anonymous. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, or Patreon under the Bizarre and the Unknown. Tonight's show, we're going to do Native American creatures, which I've got a laundry list of. I got 7 pages worth of notes here on all different kinds of Native American creatures, and there's quite a bit of them I've never heard of before, but I've got a lot in there that we have heard of too. So we'll be going over that tonight at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Now I got a new show now that I started called Current Events with the Bizarre and the Unknown. That'll strictly be on Rumble. That way, because I have a free on on Rumble, I can speak freely versus what I can on YouTube. And then whenever I do lives on my when I'm working on my books, that's strictly going to be on Patreon. Now I do post all my videos on Rumble as well as on YouTube. I just can't go live on YouTube or on Rumble when I'm on YouTube, so I have to the videos. It's the Bizarre and the Unknown. All 3 of them will be the Bizarre and the Unknown. But I'll be doing current event lives from time to time on there. I haven't set up a quite a schedule on that. It's not something I want to do every single week because I do anywhere from 4 to 6 shows a weekend. So I'm usually busy as heck because I'm always on here with William, which I am truly, truly, truly blessed to be connected with William. I mean, this man is a hell of a good man. I love him to death. He's a good brother. And that's why when he asked me to co-host, I hopped on it because it's an honor. So I'm always on with him on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Then I've got my shows Saturday and Sunday night. So Saturdays is 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. It's my campfire chats with Eric and guests. That's a safe place for you to come and share your encounters. That show was created by you, the people. You guys created that show. So that show is strictly your show and for you. So I want you to come on. If you want to come on and do a video sharing about your encounters, man, I'll put you on and let you do it. If you just want to talk about the chat, and we'll go over it. We'll kind of discuss it, and we'll talk about it. Now I've got books. I've got 5 books available on Kindle, hardback, and paperback. I write historical fiction, cryptid horrors, historical fictions, sci-fi, and I just started a new one, which is a murder mystery. 3 of my 5 books are available on audio, and I'm currently working on some now. I took a break from the Two Brothers. I'm 12 chapters into the Two Brothers. I've stepped back from it for a little bit, and I'm working on my Saga Grips in book 3, Revenge of the Wendigo. And I'm working on it right now. I'm sorry I'm missing the chats. I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff out there, so I want to try to get caught up on you guys on that. But yeah, that's the places you can find me. We're going to have fun. I'm going to have William on with me on the current events with Bizarre and the Unknown on the Rumble. I figured out how to do the Rumble where we can go live without a time limit. So we're going to be doing that. And that's a place where we can speak more openly about what our knowledge of the current events that's going on now without getting hit hard.
Exactly.
So it's I may try another one this Friday. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm kicking around doing one Friday to test out this Rumble Live Studio to see how it goes. If that's something you guys are interested, let William know or let me know, and I'll put it together. And then I'll work on trying to get a locked in time and when I'll do them, how often I'll do them. The one I did the other day was I think was really good. I thought it was really important to get out there, especially with happened to Trump. And I thought it was very important to get this kind of stuff out there. That's why I did it. So it's going to be fun. But that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that's it for today's show. We've gone 2 hours, so that's a record for me right now. But love you guys in the chat. You guys are family. Never forget that. And like I said, if you can pray for my son, he's I'm going to go deal with that right now. So everybody, thank you for being here. Like, heart, and share this out, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you're still subscribed because they're doing it again. They're taking people away from the channels. So,
yep.
But thank you all. We love you all very much, and we will see you. On Friday night for Into the Red Rabbit Hole. 11 p.m. Eastern, and then of course next weekends. Okay. So
Peace, love, and blessings.
sayonara. Bye, everybody.